Every few days, I look and see if there's any estate sales happening in my local area. A few weeks ago, I saw a listing filled with collectible glassware. I spotted several tables filled with vintage glassware, as well as hutches stuffed with Fenton, Northwood, and art glass. For weeks, I anticipated going to this estate sale, but I also knew there would be a lot of competition. What did I end up coming home with? Welcome back to Textiles and Treasures. I'm Kim, and I collect vintage glassware, retro board games, and anything to do with fiber art, needlework, and textiles. If you like hunting for vintage treasure at estate sales, be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Let's get started. When you see so much art glass and vintage kitchenware, you know that the prices are probably going to be elevated and the competition is going to be fierce. Before I went, I told myself that I would view it as a glass museum. I would take a look at all the cool items, but understand if I wasn't able to take a lot home with me. Because the house was small and filled with glassware, they only let in the first 20 people. At 24, that meant I had to wait. And those minutes definitely counted. By the time we got in the door, all of the Pyrex was gone. As I continued to walk through the house, I heard a lot of other people who were looking for the Pyrex and surprised that they couldn't find it. Even though I can definitely appreciate art glass, Fenton, Northwood, and the like, the prices were elevated. Most items were $10, $15, $20 or more, so I was looking for a little bit better deal. The first thing I decided to get was this Fenton compote. I actually have a very similar version of this compote in the same color, and I like to get things in pairs whenever possible. This is the aqua color with the opalescent edges, and it's just a crimped candy dish compote, and I just love this color. And like I said, I already have one, so now I have a pair. This one was marked $3, which is totally reasonable. I think I paid $4 for the one I got at Goodwill. On the bottom, you can see that it is marked Fenton, which means it was made in the 70s or later. The next piece I decided to get because it was interesting. As you may know, I collect green depression glass, and I do pick up Vaseline glass whenever I can find it. I don't find a lot of the yellow Vaseline glass, but when I can find some interesting shapes, I like to get them. I like to get things that have a little height because they look more interesting in the display. As you can see, this is the dolphin pattern. It actually looks like a koi, and this was made by Northwood. This motif was very popular at the turn of the century, and I like the opalescent on the top. It's got one of the little turned down edges here. It's in beautiful condition, and for some reason, this one was only marked $10. Even though I love glassware and I collect it, I try not to get things that are over $10, unless it's something super unique or it's been on my wish list. As you can see, this glows under blacklight thanks to the uranium. This design is still pretty desirable online, and prices range from $15 to $30 or $40, even $50. I'm going to keep an eye out for another one to make a pair, and for now it will look great with my green depression glass and other Vaseline glass. I don't see a lot of this glassware, but I tend to get better deals at the flea market, so I'm just going to hold out until I find other pieces. Even though the art glass was a little out of my budget, I decided to see if there was any kitchen glass that I could pick up. In one of the kitchen cabinets, I spotted this Kitchenware casserole. As you can see, this is a pretty large casserole, and it has the lid. The lid has a little chip in the inside, but it's no big deal. Lucky for me, this is one of the patterns I collect. I'm trying not to get too many Kitchenware casseroles, but this was only marked $3 with the lid, and it's a nice sizable piece, and that is cheaper than you would pick it up at Goodwill. Since I had no luck with the Pyrex, I might as well get the Kitchenware. Speaking of Pyrex, we were able to find this etched cover. As you can hopefully see here, this is an etched cover for a Pyrex casserole. They made etched patterns like these in, I believe, the 30s and 40s, maybe even earlier, and I collect them whenever I can find them. I have a pie plate, a casserole with an etched cover, as well as a beautiful oval platter, which was one of my favorite finds of 2019. This did not have its base, but I should be able to find a base in this older style, and since this was the only etched Pyrex I was able to get, I was definitely going to take it home. This was marked $2. I was also able to get this custard glass Hamilton Beach mixing bowl with the spout. This was one of the few kitchen items left behind, and this was only marked $2. I was excited to find this because I have the bigger bowl that I got at a yard sale over the summer, and so now I have a complete set. This bowl is an even better condition than the bigger one that I have, and you don't see these custard glass bowls that often. As you may be able to see, the custard glass also glows under the black light because it does have small amounts of uranium in it. Custard glass definitely fits in with my green depression glass and Vaseline glass, and I was happy to complete this set. On the table, I spotted this lid, and I knew that this was a lid for a French casserole, but this is a different shape than the glass bake shark fin. As it turns out, this is Fire King, and as it turns out, this lid goes with this French casserole. This is the candle glow pattern by Fire King, and these two pieces were unmarked and just sitting on the table separately, so I was happy to reunite them. I had seen this in the picture, and I need a couple more shark fin lids to go with my glass bake casseroles, but I was happy to find my first lid for Fire King. I actually really like the candle glow pattern, and I only have one piece in this pattern, so finding a French casserole with the pattern was awesome. As you can see, this is marked Fire King on the bottom. In the end, I paid $2 for this French casserole with the lid. Because the former owner of all these items was a glass collector, I had to check out the library. The first book I decided to get was this Fenton art glass book. This is the second edition from the early 2000s, and it's got some pretty good pictures. I have quite a few depression glass and kitchen glassware books, but I don't have any for Fenton or this early glassware. Even though this was $4, I knew that was still a reasonable deal, and I really did want a good reference guide, so I made sure to check this out to see if this fit the bill. What's nice about this book is it does list all of the different patterns, and there's a lot of pictures so you can identify the shapes of the glass as well as the patterns. Since early Fenton isn't marked, it's hard to know whether the piece you have is actually Fenton, it's another maker, or if it's just something that's a modern reproduction. You really have to study the glass and get to know it in order to know. I have a couple of early Fenton pieces that I picked up at another estate sale, and I now was able to identify them using this book. I don't really want to own a ton of decorative glass, but I do like to learn about it. This book was a good find. I also found this Fenton book. This is the Warman's Companion to Fenton Glass. I decided to get this book because it was only $1, and this one goes through the early 2000s, so I'm able to see some of the more recent glass. It's nice to see the pictures so that I can identify the glass from the shapes. I found that a lot of times people just say it's Fenton even if it may be another maker because Fenton is a name everyone recognizes, but I like to know whether or not it really is Fenton. Another book I decided to splurge on was this guide to opalescent glass. If you've seen the art glass that I pick up, you've noticed that I do like the opalescent style. I'm not a huge fan of carnival glass. I prefer opalescent, so finding a book that focuses specifically on that type of glass was awesome. This helps me identify Fenton and Northwood as well as other makers that I may not know about. This book is in alphabetical order, but it does have some good pictures and it did help me identify my Northwood pattern. I really like this book and I'm glad I got it. The last book I decided to get was Northwood Carnival Glass. As I mentioned, I do have a couple of Northwood pieces, so I wanted to see if I could identify them. I don't collect carnival glass, but this was the only book on Northwood that I saw in the library. Lucky for me, this was paperback, so it was only $1. As I mentioned, I like having the books because I can learn about the glass without having to buy everything I see and then research it. As you can see, I still did pretty well even if I missed most of the Pyrex. After this estate sale, I definitely feel like I'm going to focus my attention on rummage sales, the flea market, thrifting, and the bins. Estate sales are definitely fun, and I've had some really good luck finding unique items, but the pricing is pretty inconsistent. Sometimes I get caught up in the estate sale and spend more than I really want to. This time I decided to limit myself to $10 of books, one unique $10 piece, and the normal kitchenware I would normally pick up. We'll see how the estate sales go once there's more happening in the spring and summer. Leave a comment and let me know which of my finds were your favorite. My favorite find is this Northwood dolphin piece. It is so pretty, it's in great condition, and these are unique and interesting. I also really like this opalescent glass book because it's helping me learn more about patterns that I may not recognize otherwise. Thanks again for stopping by my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. To see more of my finds from estate sales, check out this playlist. Have a good one! Goodbye!